Okay, it's question and answer time. Now, my intention here is to answer your questions as briefly and concisely as possible, but as you know, I don't do brief or concise very well, so we'll have to see how this goes. But if I don't answer your question to your liking, please go down in the comment section below and either ask it again or rephrase it, and I will try to address it on the next Q&A if there are enough questions. This could just be a one-off and we could just be done with this. I do have a lot of questions. So let's see, the first question is, are you subscribed to Dave2D Vlogs? I repeat, Dave2D Vlogs on YouTube. Oh, this is Dave2D. I just got trolled by Dave2D. Cool. Excellent. Yeah. Thanks, Dave. Next question. Do you have any hobbies that you do or have lost due to van life other than coffee? Yeah. I don't know if I would say coffee is a hobby. I think that's more of a life support system for me. But yeah, I guess it could be a hobby. So I think probably I haven't gotten any new hobbies other than YouTube from van life. That was something I probably wouldn't have done, making videos on YouTube, if it wasn't for van life. Now I have a little bit more money to spend on hobbies, but really what I like to do is just be outside, like I'm doing here. So hiking, being outdoors, napping, can that be a hobby? I don't know. Maybe. Thanks for your question, Tim. And let's see, I'm not going to try to pronounce your name, but how do you feel on the small space in a daily basis? And you say that you're thinking of doing the same thing in a Prius. Oh, and also, how long do I stay inside of my van versus when I lived in an apartment or house? So I don't have a problem with the small van. I would not be able to do a Prius. One of the things that I need is to be able to sit upright. So I can do that just barely in my van, but if I wasn't able to sit upright in kind of my living space before I got to bed at night, the vehicle wouldn't work for me. So, and really, I've had to take on being a minimalist. And I wouldn't be able to get rid of anything else. So I've got quite a bit more storage space in my van versus a Prius. So yeah, Prius wouldn't work for me, but minivan, I've gotten used to it, and it's really not a problem living in a small space. It's just a problem with owning a lot of stuff, and it's actually quite freeing to get rid of stuff. So it's actually been good for me. And about how long I stay in the van versus when I was staying, living in an apartment, every day is different for me. So there's no normal. So generally I'm just in the van just to sleep and to make dinner. So 8 or 10 hours a day is probably it. When I was living in an apartment or a house, I spent most of my time inside in my room because I really couldn't afford to do anything else. So I'm out and about a lot more now that I'm in my van versus a house. Okay, Glow Schaefer. Are you satisfied with your current van? Or if possible, would you have chosen a different vehicle? And then you wanted to know floor to ceiling height of my van. I'm gonna just ask that here, and then I'm gonna read your question here, and then I'm gonna put it in the comments because I'm not quite sure exactly what that is, so I'll have to measure it when I go back to the editing room here. But the first question, am I satisfied with my current van? I'm absolutely satisfied with my current van. At the moment, I wouldn't want to be in anything else, and that just has to do with just how I live and where I'm living and bills and all. So yeah, my van is actually working out perfectly. I can't imagine being in anything else right now. I'd rather be cycling, has asked since your vehicle's relatively stealthy, you know, I don't like that term, but it is your question. Yeah, your typical location is urban. Why the Pacific Northwest? And then you're asking about why do I not follow the weather? So yeah, I mean, ideally, I'd love to follow the weather. You know, most of my friends follow good weather back and forth around the country, but I did buy my van brand new, and I did have some bills that followed me from before I was living in the van, so I need to work full-time to get things paid off. That's pretty much it. So I came up here looking for a better place to live, and I found a really good job, and so that's why I'm staying here. Okay, next question. Sandra Bertie, and I know I'm mispronouncing all these names, I'm sorry. I'm probably going to say that many times. Let's see, would you be willing to do a quick video of the inside of your van? Yeah, I'll try to do that. You know, not much has changed in the 2 years. Very, very little. So I just haven't really done a tour video. I don't think I've really ever done a proper tour video, but a lot of other people have. Adventure Van Man, Dave 2D, Sam Travels, can't think of who else. I thought there were another couple, but yeah. But I'll try to do one, although if you've seen one tour video of mine in the last few years, you've seen them all, I think, because not much has changed, which is a good thing, I think. And let's see, you're asking about my temp job, and you're wondering if once you get hired on full-time, if the temp agency still takes part of your wage. No, the temp companies make their money by you working. So when you show up and work, they get a split of the pay, and it's generally, you know, $1 or $2 an hour they'll get off of what you're earning. So when you get hired on full-time by the company that you're working for, then you would gain that money back. The temp company would then lose that pay that they're splitting off from you, if that makes sense the way I'm describing it. So your goal is to do a really good job with the company that you get assigned to, and then after so many hours, the company that you're assigned to can kind of steal you away, and then you would get benefits from that company if they offer them, and a better pay normally. So HB's faithful servant has asked, do I have a name for my van? No, I am not naming my van, although I usually call the van she. I don't know why, but yeah, that's what I do. But no, I'm not going to name my van. Chris J wants to know how the cork is holding up, and it's holding up really well. I'm actually very, very happy with the decision of putting the cork up. I want to see how it holds up during the summer, but I'm really happy with it so far. And am I getting enough sunlight to keep my batteries charged? Absolutely. Have no trouble. This is kind of the golden time of year for solar, at least it seems to be for me. Cool days and cool nights means that my refrigerator isn't running a whole lot, and that's really my main power draw. And so, being that my refrigerator isn't cycling and pulling a lot of juice out of my batteries, yeah, my batteries have been fully charged for the last 3 months. They haven't dropped below fully charged once in the last 3 months. Yeah, good time of year to be in, even up here when it's dark. And is my Wave 3 keeping me warm enough? So a few of you know that I bought a Wave 3 heater this year, and even though I didn't make a video on it, some of you know that. Yeah, the Wave 3 has been fantastic. I really should have made several videos talking it up. It is a fantastic heater if you are looking for a propane heater, and I'm very, very happy with it. So Skitch Beat Poet, it's a funny name, says, you seem to be pretty frugal. Have you been able to save money since starting van life? And yes, I did mention scraping by before. How are things financially now? So yeah, things are much my thing about saving money, I haven't been able to save as much as I would like, and that I probably should. I am making less money now since I moved up here to Seattle, and I'm started over with a new company. But I'm making enough money to live very comfortably, and that's really my goal, is to live comfortably. Things were tough before I moved in the van financially, which I think that's what a lot of people feel, especially if you live in an expensive area like I was in Southern California, probably any of California and most parts of the country, at least the western half of the country. So yeah, things have been much better. Things could be better, obviously, but I'm comfortable, and that's my main goal. So the next question is kind of much the same. Nicole was asking if I am happy with the changes, and is it what I was expecting or worse? Honestly, I was really kind of hoping that I would be able to save more money and pay things off a little bit faster, but like I mentioned before, that my main goal is my comfort, being more comfortable. So I'm not paying things off as quick as I'd like, but I am living much more comfortably, and I'm eating much better. Being able to have money to travel and buy things like expensive jackets when I want them is important to me. And so yeah, I have no regrets at all, financially speaking. Okay, so from Catherine, of the multitude of components of deciding a van build, etc., what do you think is the determining point of priority for each part as it applies to money spent, space taken up, timing, etc.? So you have limited funds, but you're trying to plan out things. Yeah, this is one of those things that I think is extremely personal, that it's going to be different for everybody. I had the luxury of having many months before I was going to move into the van. In fact, I kind of waffled back and forth as to whether I was going to move into the van over the 6 months that I owned the van to when I actually moved into it. And that was helpful for me because I could take the van on weekend trips and decide what was important and what worked and what didn't. So for me, it ended up being I wanted a comfortable bed, and so that was the first thing I built. And oddly enough, the solar was the last thing I installed and got straightened out. But I think that if I were to do a van build now, the solar and the electrical system would be top priority, and everything else after that. But like I said, that's a really personal decision. And there's a saying that I've been saying, and that is, you've got to be brutally honest with yourself on what you're going to need to be comfortable. So some people want a van that has a lot of space. I wanted a van that had certain aspects covered, like sleeping comfortably, and so that was kind of my mindset. So I don't think that's really something that I can help you with, other than to say that you've got to be just really brutally honest with yourself on what you're going to need to be comfortable, and then work on those things first. I hope that helps. Probably doesn't, but I hope that helps. Okay, more questions about money from, well, I'm not going to say your name because I'm probably just going to mispronounce it. But are you able to save huge chunks of money every month since I don't pay rent? And do I have plans for a vacation, a special vacation? Also, what activities do I enjoy when I'm not working? So yeah, so more questions about money. Again, I'm not able to save as much as I'd probably like, but yeah, I'm living very comfortably, and I'm eating very well. So that's the most important thing for me. Now, vacation time, I did get hired on by the company that I started working for, but I'm still fairly new, so I don't have vacation time yet. So I'm planning on saving up my vacation time for a future trip down south, obviously. So that'll come later on. But yeah, there's so many places around here that I can go to just on the weekend. that are so incredibly beautiful and places that I've been wanting to see forever. So yeah, I don't really feel like I need to take a big vacation. Vacations are nice though, but yeah, I can wait until I get vacation time from work. Okay, and Remus, King of Rome, asks, how's the new job going? Are you saving money? Seems to be the popular question. Do you think about getting old and sick? What will you do? And how's the solar going? Yeah, so solar's going well again. The new job is good. It's been getting more difficult as I've gotten more responsibilities, and we've been getting really busy. So it's a hectic job. It's a real job. It's I'm working, but I like it. I don't dread going into work every day, and I've had very few jobs I could say that about over the years. And let's see, what was the other thing about getting old and getting sick? Yeah, I tend not to think too much about bad stuff. I think having a contingency plan for things, for getting sick and looking into the future is good, but I don't really dwell on them. And I think that's how I'm going to answer that. I hope that's a good enough answer. Okay, and Hot-Headed Joel asks, were you able to purchase your van outright? And did you have to make payments for a time? Yeah, no, I bought my van with basically no money down, believe it or not. So yeah, my payments are pretty expensive on the van because I did it that way. But yeah, I've got payments, regular car payments, and it's just not an issue. Since I don't pay rent, I really sat down and looked at what I was paying for my previous car payment and my rent, and the numbers just really worked in that even though I was going to have a little bit higher of a payment with the van, dropping the rent off just because I was living in an expensive area, yeah, things have actually worked out really well. But yeah, I'll be paying it off for a while, unfortunately. Okay, so from Rex Miller, roughly 8 hours of a day are not spent working and sleeping. Where do you spend that time? What percentage is in the van? So for me, I don't have a real set schedule. Every day is different. And since I've been up here, where it's been a little more rainy and a little more cold than what I'm used to, I'm spending some days a little bit more time in the van. So I might spend 2 or 3 hours in the van watching videos and making dinner. But yeah, boy, percentage, it's hard just because every day is different. And that's the big thing. I never know what I'm going to do from one day to the next, and I never really have a certain amount of time that I'm going to be spending in the van, other than I'm trying to get 8 hours of sleep a night. But that's about it. That's close of an answer as I can give you, unfortunately. Okay, so Leslie asks, where do you find yourself parking most often? And I answered this in the comments section earlier when she asked this, but I almost exclusively park on a public street, and I almost exclusively park either in front of an apartment complex or a business after they've closed, and then I leave before they open. That's how I normally do it. And then I do have a few other spots that I park at, just depending on the day and the time. But normally I park on the street because that is legal to do, and I don't like parking on private property. So Walmart is a no-go for me ever. I don't ever want to park at a Walmart. I did that a few times early on, and I just don't do it anymore. There's lots of street parking, and usually street parking is much quieter and safer than parking in a place like Walmart. That's just what I found, and that's probably just from the places that I've been. But I've only been living in 5 different states in the western United States, so you may find different depending on where you are. All right, so we have an interesting question to me from Robert. He says, what is your height? It is necessary to know that so people would know if they'd be comfy in a minivan. So I would like to say that I respectfully disagree with your statement. The reason that I disagree with your statement is that I think that even if someone was exactly my height and exactly my build and bought my exact van and built it out exactly the same, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be comfortable in a minivan. I focus on what you need, not on what everybody else is doing. I think that we get confused and we end up making bad choices about our van builds based on looking at what other people are doing and comparing us to them. So I've done the same thing in the past. So now I say, be focused on what you are going to need and what your comfort level is going to be. Be brutally honest with yourself and what you're going to need, and focus less on what everybody else is doing. You get great ideas from other people, but they're not you. So so I'm under 6 feet, but the only way you're going to know if you like a minivan is to try being in a minivan. Which I say rent a minivan, or do what I did. The first time I looked at a ProMaster City, I opened up the back and I laid down in the back because I had all these measurements and they didn't really mean anything in my head, and they didn't really mean anything on the little plans that I was drawing out. But once I got in it and I laid down and I could see this is how much space I have, this is how much space I have between my head and my feet, then I knew that van was going to work for me. So that's what I suggest. Yeah, don't get hung up on numbers. You got to actually look at something and get in it, try it out, rent a van for the weekend. That would be the greatest thing to do if you could. Okay, so a few questions from Mary. How does van life limit or help your dating life? Do van dwellers tend to date one another rather than people living a more traditional life? And do your friends at work know that you live in a van? And how do they react if you do? Are you lonely? Do you plan on living static indefinitely? You got a few more questions here. That's quite a few. So let's, I guess I could start answering them. Yeah, dating. I think there was also another question from Carlos Posada. How do you handle dating? I think there was another one somewhere else. But yeah, I haven't found living out of a van to be much different as far as dating goes. And as far as do most van dwellers date other van dwellers, I think most tend to look at other van dwellers as a possible person to date because, at least in my experience, there are some women that will automatically not be interested in you if you live in a van. That's just what I've found, but not all. So I would say that not much has changed as far as dating for me. Pretty much normal. And do my friends at work know that I live in a van? Yes, absolutely. Everybody around me knows that I live in my van. And I actually have a funny thing about telling people that I live in my van because I like to tell people because I like to see their reaction. A lot of times it's funny because people react quite oddly when you tell them you live in a van. There was a fellow in Olympia at a Trader Joe's when I was checking out. I had mentioned that I lived in my van, and he actually stopped bagging my groceries for a second, and he seemed to just tense up. Why? I don't know. But I just find this fascinating that how people react. Most people are just just very nonchalant about it, and then there are some people that just want to know more and ask a lot of questions. Why and how and where and but yeah, most people it's kind of a non-issue. But I just have a thing for bringing it up and seeing people's reactions. I think it's funny. Yeah. So some of your other questions. Yeah. Do you ever hide the fact that I live in a van? And do you save so you have the option of living differently if you decide you are done with van life? Yeah, I can't imagine ever living any other way, so I'm kind of all in about living in the van. But yeah, I think you should definitely have a plan for getting out. And how has van life changed you? Yeah, it's definitely improved the quality of my life. So yeah, I mean, it's made me a happier person. But other than that, I don't know, that's a tough question. Yeah, made me happier, I guess. And then Tracy asks, do I ever plan on getting a larger van? Yeah, I don't at the moment. First, I need to pay off this van, and I've got ways to go with that, but I really like this van. It really works for me, but I do live in the city most of the time. So this is a city van, and being that I live in the city most of the time, it really works out well for me. The other thing is, if I had a big van, I'd probably want to spend a lot of time in it, and then that would not be so good for me. So I like having a small van that kind of pushes me to be outside. And a day like today, it is sure nice to be outside. So yeah, my van works well for me, and I don't really plan on getting a bigger one anytime soon. All right, next question from Sarah Tree. She is wondering if my van is too cramped, and no, it is not for me. If I feel the least bit cramped, I just get out of the van and go for a walk or a hike. I'll even go, kind of shopping, just walking around the store if the weather's really bad outside, but I just need to walk around. Yeah, I don't spend a whole lot of time in the van, to be honest, so it just doesn't feel cramped. It doesn't feel cramped when I'm sleeping, and that's what I'm mostly doing in the van. So, yeah, not cramped at all for me. And you also asked, you're wondering how my cork is holding up. Yeah, the cork is great. It's holding up really well. I have a couple just small issues with how I installed it, but yeah, it's great. It's actually fantastic. Okay, so next question. Does your boss or coworkers know that you're living in your van? Have they ever asked you, do you drive to work every day or bike? And will or have you shown them your van? So I guess you're probably wondering if I'm not driving to work if they don't know. Yeah, I don't hide the fact that I live in the van from anybody. Yeah, my life's pretty much an open book. So yeah, everybody knows, and a few of them have looked in my van. A few of them do watch my videos occasionally, so yeah, I have shown them a few of them the van that have asked to look at it. Oh boy, the next question here. Were you ever a child with parents, siblings, and a dog named Skippy? I'm not sure I'm getting the joke, but I'm thinking that has to do with the Thin Man or something. I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, I haven't had a dog named Skippy. I don't know what the joke is, but it is cracking me up. Anyway, let's see. Ever married, significant other, children? I'm not going to tell you my age, but I am middle-aged. That's close enough. Prison time? No, haven't been in prison. Been to the East Coast or out of the country, and rig of money was no object. Favorite genre of movies, favorite color, last meal. Boy, that covers a lot. So, yeah, I haven't been married, and I'm not dating anyone at the moment. But, I'm always open to the possibility, but I've always said, for years and years and years, I've said it's going to take quite a remarkable woman to get me to settle down, and it's probably going to take quite a remarkable woman to put up with me. So yeah, I don't know, we'll see, but yeah, I'm open to the possibility. But yeah, let's see. No on the prison time. Okay, no on the prison time. And been to the East Coast. I actually lived in the East, back east for a few years. Hated every minute of it. Won't go back there again. Sorry to you East Coasters. I know you probably really love your your home, but wasn't for me. I am a Westerner for sure. Been out of the country. I've only really been to Canada and parts of Mexico, and really not that far into either of those countries. So, and let's see, rig if money was no object. I really like my van right now, but I can see that maybe as I'm getting older, I would need something that was a little bit easier to get in and out of. So, truck camper would be appealing, probably because I've been watching West Coast Roller for quite a while now, and I kind of consider him a friend, and he had a truck camper, so that kind of seems appealing. Or maybe a Class B, or a self-made, type Class B, but yeah, maybe a full-size ProMaster, not a high top ever, but yeah, I don't know, maybe. But yeah, I like my van so much, it's really hard to think of anything else at the moment anyway. But times and situations change, right? Let's see, and then favorite genre of movies. I really don't watch movies anymore. Wes Anderson is my favorite director, if you know who he is. So I don't know what genre that would be exactly, but yeah, I just don't watch movies anymore. It's just, I don't like sitting in one spot for that long. I think that's why, I don't know. And favorite color? Green, I think. Anyway, yeah, I have like 5 or 8 or something green t-shirts, and my favorite jacket is green. Yeah, green is probably my favorite color. Although that's changed a lot over the years. And favorite last meal, probably tacos. Wouldn't it be tacos? Wouldn't everybody say tacos? I would think everybody would say tacos. Okay, Greg, you've got a bunch of questions for me. Let's see, approximately how much is your food costs per month? Yeah, I don't budget food. I spend whatever I want on food, whatever I'm in the mood for, that's what I buy, and so I have no budget for food. So it could be, and I don't even keep track, it could be $200 a week, it could be $600 a week, and anywhere in between. I just don't keep track. I'm all about being happy and comfortable, and so that's the way I've been doing it for the last 2 years. What percentage of your eating is done at restaurants versus cooking? Yeah, that kind of changes with the weather a little bit. When it's colder, I do more cooking. When it's hotter, I eat out. But I couldn't really give you a percentage. It would kind of change according to the seasons, I think. And yeah, I am making payments on the van. I think we talked about that before here. And is my van insured as an RV or a regular car? Yeah, it's just insured as a regular car. I don't think I'd be able to insure my van as an RV. It would take quite a bit of work. I think you have to have at least a 10-gallon holding tank to be an RV, so that's not really something I really want on my van, and I don't think I'd have enough space for, so it's not something I'm interested in doing. Do I keep a local P.O. box for getting mail? I actually use a service for getting mail, and I think I'll talk a little bit more about that in the future at the moment. And do I have any worries or concerns about the future, as I get older? Yeah, not really. I'm making some little plans about getting older and being in the van, but yeah, I just really don't worry about that kind of thing. I think making sure you have a little bit of money so that you could go and rent an apartment if possible, or if needed, I should say, is probably the best thing. So that's kind of my contingency plan, but I don't see it happening ever. But yeah, I don't really have any worries about the future. And do I get lonely by myself? I actually made a video about is van life lonely? Yeah, I do not. I get too much social interaction for 40 hours a week and at my job, and yeah, I really don't have a period of time where I get lonely. I actually have quite the opposite. There's times where I want to go out and get away from everybody and go to where my phone doesn't work, so I have no phone service. Yeah, that's more the case for me. And am I concerned about having all my personal records or documents in my van? No, and I would have been if not for one thing that happened years ago. Back when I owned a house, my house got robbed, and they ransacked the place and took quite a lot of stuff. A lot of personal documents and keys and a lot of stuff. So after that happened, it kind of just showed me that nothing is really all that secure. So it's not something that I'm worried about much anymore. And in fact, I don't really have anything of importance that's in the van. Anything that's important or worth anything is actually on me wherever I am. So if somebody were to break in the van, they wouldn't get much. Some ratty t-shirts and jeans, and that's about it. So not a worry for me. Yeah, and then you've got a question about if places like banks and insurance and all that know that I am a van dweller. And then I think there was some other questions from Todd, and I'm not going to go through all of them because I'm actually not going to answer all of them. But the reason I'm not going to answer all of them is because I find that, at least on YouTube videos, a lot of the time what I say gets misconstrued and misinterpreted, and I don't want to steer somebody in the wrong direction if they're trying to copy something that I'm doing or try to follow my lead on things. So I think how I'm going to answer that, at least now, is that everybody that I do business with and everybody that, well, really everything across the board, I am very much upfront about the fact that I am a nomad and a van dweller. I don't hide that from anybody. So as far as insurance, it's not like you can't get insurance if you're living in your van. You know, they just want, insurance companies are in business to make money. So what I've found with things like insurance, I'm using insurance as an example because it's a good example, because we all know that insurance companies are doing their best to not pay out on a claim. If they catch you lying on anything and you are in an accident, they will find a way not to pay you. That's what they do. So, you don't want to lie to them. And I think it's just kind of across the board within everybody else as well. It's not to your benefit to lie or not be truthful. So in everything that I do, I'm upfront about the fact that, yes, I do live in my van. So as far as some of the logistics about home addresses and licensing and things like that, I think that somebody like Bob Wells could steer you in a better direction on what you should do about that, and probably not something I'm really want to share, just because, like I said, people tend to not fully understand what I'm saying. So, and that's probably just because it's not coming out of my mouth the same way as it's going on in my head. So yeah, I'm going to leave those questions, but yeah, absolutely be upfront with everybody with everything that you do. I found that to be the best choice, no matter what. Even though it's not the popular opinion here on YouTube, that's just the way I've been doing it, and it's been working fine for 2 years for me. Yeah, and Maria asks, again, another question about the van. Would I like a high top? I wouldn't. After 2 years, I still can't figure out why I would need a high top. It just perplexes me, and that's probably because of where I am living and where I'm parking. A high top would be a huge inconvenience for me. It would also be a huge inconvenience because I would be getting less fuel mileage when I do end up leaving the city and driving. So not just parking every day, but when I go out on the weekends and I'm trying to get, out in the woods or just trying to get to a different city, that would hit me in fuel mileage, and that's something that would be a bother to me as well. So yeah, all the way around, I am perplexed as to why somebody needs a high top. I don't ever want a high top. But we're all different. So I don't hold it against anybody that wants a high top. It's just, I can't figure out why I would ever need one. And then Jonathan asks, after 2 years with your ProMaster City, how do you like it? And how many miles have I put on it? And any problems with the transmission? That was also a question from Tracy. So yeah, I've had very little problems with my van. I did have 2 ignition coils that went out at 2 different times, and they were covered under warranty. But that's about it. As far as the transmission goes, I haven't had any issue with it yet, but I have heard some things. As far as I'm concerned, no automatic transmission is going to be trouble-free for a long time, so it's not really a concern of mine, but yeah, I haven't had any trouble with mine yet. Yeah, then Ray asks, do you grow your beard because you like it or because it's one less thing you have to mess with? I'm growing it because I can, basically. My work doesn't care that I have a beard, and so I just decided to let it go just because. And it's actually getting to the point where it's bugging me. But I'll have to trim it at some point. It's actually more of a problem having the beard than it is shaving. But I can't really shave, so I normally have somewhat of a beard, but yeah, a close beard is actually easiest. Living in a van or shaving is the closest. Yeah, this thing I have to wash and do all kinds of stuff, so yeah, it's actually a bother. Every morning it's a bother. So the last question from Justin Hart. What would be the one thing that would make you give up van life? And thanks for the question, Justin. I think it's a good way to end the Q&A here. So when I first read your question, Justin, I didn't really have an answer. So as I've been thinking about it for the last few days, I guess death. I would be the only thing. I don't want to make any changes to how I'm living, so I'm hoping to be a van lifer till the day I die. Yeah, works for me, So that's it. That's as good of an answer as I can give you. And thanks for the question. So thanks everybody for watching, and if you have any other questions, or if I didn't answer your question, I may have missed some. Hopefully I didn't, but yeah, put them in the comment section below, and if there are enough questions, I'll do another Q&A. I can't imagine there being any more, but yeah, I'm open to doing another one. So if there are more questions, put them down below, and we'll do another one of these in another week's time. So thanks a lot for watching.